So, mosquitoes can carry parasites, but they can also carry these things called arboviruses. This means arthropod-borne viruses. There are three that we're going to be talking about, which is dengue, Zika, and chikungunya. But there are a lot of others, such as yellow fever, West Nile virus, the Rift Valley virus. But what is a virus? I know many of you probably, well, I would hope all of you really know what a virus is, but it's a submicroscopic infectious agent that replicates only within a cell. And there's a debate as to whether it's living or non-living. So with mosquitoes, there are three main transmission cycles of an herbavirus. The first one being urban, that's between the actual mosquito and the human. There's there's enzootic, which I apologise if I'm not saying that right, which is between insects and vertebrates, but this can spill over from the vertebrates to us. So vertebrates are things like monkeys and rats and stuff. And then there's rural epizoite, the epi word there. And this is between domesticated vertebrates and animals and insects. But it can also spill over to us because domestic animals live in close proximity to humans. So there's easy transmission between them. These domesticated animals, because there's such high numbers of them as well, they can act as sort of like an amplifier of the virus because it can replicate inside them, get loads more copies, and then spread to loads of humans. So mosquitoes, as I've said, there are numerous species. I think it was 3,500 different species of mosquitoes there are. We've already talked about the Anopheles mosquito, which transmits malaria. The Aedes mosquito transmit arboviruses. So Aedes mosquitoes, they're also called, I think it's the yellow fever or the yellow tiger mosquito, and they're very invasive and with a very large geographical distribution across the world. This is because they also are the opposite of the Anopheles, and instead of biting in the evening or in the night time, they bite during the day. And they are container breeders, so they will literally breed in any little bit of water that they find, whether it be a puddle or whether it be a plate of a teacup that you've left outside in the rain. So, what about dengue? So there are four different serotypes of dengue. You've got Dengue 1, Dengue 2, Dengue 3, Dengue 4. It's mainly in the South Americas, Africa, Asia, and Australia. You can see here how fast it did actually spread because of how invasive the species of mosquito is. So from 1970, you can see there were just 2 serotypes in America, 2 in Africa, and 4 in Australia. Now there's basically all 4 serotypes everywhere. Well, as of 2004. So the dengue virus itself has a diameter of 50 nanometers. It has a nucleolar capsid containing the viral genome and has C proteins, which are the capsid proteins. Fix that. The viral genome is actually a single strand of RNA consisting of 10 genes. And the proteins that it contains are the capsid proteins, so the C proteins, E proteins for the envelope, and M proteins for the membrane. It also contains other proteins to help replicate. It can lead to 2 types of disease or illness. So you have dengue fever and then severe dengue. Severe dengue is then subcategorised into dengue hemorrhagic fever or dengue shock syndrome. But the best outcome of being infected with dengue is just dengue fever. So this lasts for 2 to 7 days and it's very similar to the flu. That's why it's hard to diagnose. You have to have at least 2 of the following symptoms, so headache, eye pain, muscle or joint pain, nausea or vomiting, and swollen glands or a rash. For severe dengue, with dengue hemorrhagic fever, you have all the symptoms of dengue fever, but it also includes vomiting, which may contain blood, internal bleeding and breathing difficulties. Think hemorrhagic as like hemo, so blood, so you're going to be throwing up blood and you're bleeding inside if you've got dengue hemorrhagic fever. Dengue shock syndrome is the worst one, so it is the same symptoms as dengue fever and dengue hemorrhagic shock and dengue hemorrhagic fever, but you also have a rapid and weak pulse, narrow pulse pressure, you're cold and clammy, you feel restless, you have blueness around the mouth, and you have cold extremities, so like your fingers. If just normal dengue is left untreated, then there's a low mortality of less than 1%, so you're not likely going to die from just dengue. It's just you need to stop dengue before it progresses into something worse, because if dengue hemorrhagic fever is untreated, then you've got a 50-50% chance of either dying or living. So you need to stop dengue from progressing to dengue hemorrhagic fever or dengue shock syndrome.